Welcome back mga kabarangay sa ating Netkapihan Talakayan at Chikahan dito po sa PSTV5 Online. Sa gabing ito ay mapalad po tayo dahil makakapanayam po natin muli. Dati natin na nakapanayam si Dr. Alex Tan ng International Relations and Political Science Department ng University of Canterbury. Nasanay na kasi akong yung Sir, Prof. Dito kasi sa New Zealand, Alex lang kaya lang pala hindi ko maiwasan tawagan si Sir Alex o si Prof. Alex. Magandang gabi, Sir Alex. Kumusta ka?
Magandang gabi, Direk. Good. Kumusta lahat ng mga kabayan natin? This is good to see you again.
Yes, oo. The last time na nakita ko si Sir Alex was last December when he invited me to the university kasi may konting workshop symposium on media and democracy. Hindi kayo affected, sir, sa mga baha diyan sa Canterbury?
No, luckily, we're fine over here. In fact, today the weather was quite good. So, normally, when West Coast is raining like crazy, dito hindi.
Okay, yeah, wow. That's good.
So we were blessed. We're lucky.
Si Professor Alex Tan po, he finished his bachelor's po, sa Ateneo and master's sa Ateneo also.
Hindi, sa University of California.
Sa AB Economics sa Ateneo,
Yep.
master's sa University of California at ang PhD alam ko sa East Coast, isa sa main
Sa Texas A&M University,
Texas
Department of
A&M.
Political Science. Yep.
And a few years ago, a few years after, he moved to Christchurch na agad kayo, sir? Or
No, I was teaching. Pagkatapos ko ng PhD, I stayed in the US. So nagtuturo ako sa Southern Methodist University sa Dallas. And then pagkatapos noon, 2 years ako nag-postdoc doon eh. So pagkatapos pumunta ako ng I was appointed assistant professor, University of North Texas. So just north of Dallas, on the suburbs, Denton, University of North Texas. I was there in 98. Binigyan ako ng tenure as associate professor in 2002. So 2004, I was invited to come over here. So dito na sa Canterbury, 17 years na.
17 years, wow.
Going 18 na. Tagal na.
And offline, sinabi sa akin ni Sir Alex na he used to have a student who went back home already, who took her PhD, si Chloe Wong.
Yep.
Yeah, and she used to teach at Miriam.
That's right. She used to, I believe she used to teach part-time at Miriam College while she was with the Foreign Policy Research Institute of the Department of Foreign Affairs sa Manila. So, pumunta siya dito, nagtapos siya ng PhD with my supervision. So she studied Philippine foreign policy with regards to its relation with other small nations. So it's a very interesting PhD. So I'm really blessed to have many good kabayan students. In fact, right now I have 2 PhD students of mine. Both are already assistant professors at UP. Si Dennis, taga UP Diliman. Si Dennis taga UP Diliman. Si June naman, taga June Espia. Sa tingin na taga UP Visayas naman siya.
UP Visayas. Na-meet po sila, sir, nung December.
On the Media and Democracy Workshop, no?
Yeah. Sabi nga nila, homesick na talaga sila kasi because of the lockdown. Hindi sila makauwi.
But they're really, I have to say, yung mga PhD student natin na taga Pilipinas, they absolutely make me so proud. They're doing incredibly well and very well published and matatalino.
That's good to know. And you said meron pang 3 other professors sa University of Canterbury ng mga Filipinos.
Yes. Or yung yung population natin ng mga Pinoy professors dito lumalaki na rin eh. So but mostly sila nasa business school. So si Jerry in finance, Susie Morris in marketing, Si Richard Aquino, in tourism management naman.
So,
Mostly
tourism.
in that area.
Okay. At malayo ang building nila sa inyo, di ba? Parang
Oh, it's another side.
other side eh.
Yeah, but recently, and just to our kabayan back home, if they're listening,
Mm.
we have set up in with my colleagues over at the department a Southeast Asia research initiative. So
Oh.
we have a group of scholars, and including our our Pinoy academics here,
Hmm?
doing Southeast Asia research, anything about Southeast Asia,
Oh, that's good.
politics, business, all sorts. So kung may mga interesado to yung mga ano natin, mga colleagues natin sa Pilipinas, get in touch with us, and we are more than happy to collaborate
Hmm.
and set up something interesting.
Oh, wow. Mga research outputs and studies na pwedeng gawin.
Definitely,
Yeah. At
definitely.
kaya mga kaibigan, kaya ngayong gabi ay nais ko pong makapanayam si Dr. Alex Tan is because we would like to talk about politics and the Olympics, no? No isang araw kasi nagmumuni-muni ako. Bago pa nakakamit ng gold si Heidelin, nag-iisip na ako, sabi ko, may political flavor itong Olympics na to eh. And then I look at history, yung si panahon ni Hitler, 1936, yung mga ganon. So I thought of, the best person to, as a resource person, si Dr. Alex Tan about this one, politics and the Olympics, ano? At what is your take on this, sir? Relevant pa ba itong Is the Olympics relevant, and does it really have a political flavor?
Yeah, I think, I mean, in fact, masasabi natin na despite the fact that the International Olympic Committee will insist that we take politics out of Olympics,
Hmm.
no? Kaya siyempre, yan ang standard line. Pero hindi natin maiiwas na Olympics and politics has over time became enmeshed, no? With each other. And it's not just recent things, huh? It's
Hmm.
not just, in fact, even before 1930s, with the Nazi Germany hosting the Berlin Olympics and all of that stuff, even prior to that, you can already see the encroachment of politics,
Hmm.
into it. And I think sa akin naman, kung isipin mo, ang talagang obvious reason why it becomes
Hmm.
a very natural setting for politics is, if it's only just sport, why do we bother with singing the national anthem?
Good point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Diba?
Mm-hmm.
Number one. That's number one. Why do we bother? We might as well just, yung mga athletes, yung mga sports people, oh, sige, parada sila. Pero as sports
Mm-hmm.
people, kung hindi importante yung nation state concept,
Mm-hmm.
then just move in as a whole without country specific. That's number
Mm-hmm.
one. Number two, I think the reason why politics got involved is because look at the hosting of the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Ang mahal,
Oh,
di ba?
billions.
Yeah, and then even the Olympic committees, so masasabi nila, sige, yung mga national Olympic committees could be private, non-governmental organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Pero by and of themselves, hindi nila makakayan mag-host ng isang
Mm-hmm.
Olympic. At saka alam natin, no, na the Olympic hosting is just getting more expensive, 'di ba?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
'Di ba? Imagine
Kasi,
mo, naalala mo ba yung Athens Olympics, 'di ba?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Naalala mo ba yung Olympics in Rio de Janeiro, 'di ba? In Rio, um, Rio was
Mm.
2016, no, 'di ba? I mean,
2016, yes.
no,
Mm.
so just imagine those. We were so concerned that the Rio Olympics won't launch because they're getting late on their projects.
Mhm.
Brazil is having difficulty financially, and then look what happened in Greece, in Athens, and the cost that they are still paying, no,
Mhm.
for paying for financing and paying all those stadiums and some of the sports that that they don't play but they have to have the stadium,
Mm.
di ba? Kaya biro mo yung in Athens Olympic may baseball stadium. Pero the Greeks don't play baseball.
So,
Di ba?
after the Olympics, wala na, hindi na
Wala
nagagamit.
na. Wala na, di ba? So of course there is the politics side of it. So that's one aspect. And then the other aspect is kasi over time makikita natin kung the early Olympics and the modern Olympics are quite different, di ba?
Mhm,
Kasi
mm.
mas limitado yung mga sports nung araw, di ba? Wala silang TV. Pero ngayon,
Mhm,
biruin mo, ang daming sports.
mhm,
TV pa. 'Di ba yung mga
mm,
TV contract lang eh. Doon ang IOC na gumagana eh, 'di ba?
mhm,
That's how they make their money from selling advertising, selling, TV broadcasting rights and what
mhm,
have you. So but when you do that, you create a platform,
mm,
'di ba? You create a platform and I mean everybody knows. Even the sports people know. Even the athletes know. I mean, I heard when they were playing, the soccer games in the Olympic.
mhm,
Some teams were kneeling down before the start. So, parang anti-racism. There's always a
mhm,
message because there's a platform.
mhm,
Malaki yung platform
mhm.
eh.
Correct.
So
Tsaka
it's
ano,
natural.
tsaka yung ano some of them because they know it's televised. It's different pag naglalaro ka na, alam mo wala namang ibang nanonood kundi nasa stadium lang. Alam mo yung may nanonood sa'yo millions of people, you play for the camera parang gano'n
Yeah,
eh.
of course. Of
Oo,
course. I mean, imagine in the 1930s, 'di ba? Yung mga American athletes, 'di ba? They
mhm.
were, showing, yung mga all these
Yung
things that they have to
nakakaanood,
show. Oh,
di ba
their
yung face
fish,
nila, oo,
what
mga
have
gano'n.
you. I mean, it's an opportunity for the athletes also to express themselves,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
some of them are more political and they use their fame
mhm,
to express particular political positions.
mhm,
So, and in a way, I think the influence, the the encroachment of politics in Olympics, no, uh, has also a lot to do with the fact that television has become much more important,
mhm.
di ba?
And it's the spreading of not just the politics but the ideology, no, sir? Kasi, di ba, yung during the Cold War, it was Russia or the Eastern Bloc
Yeah,
versus the Americans and democracy, pati sa sports, di ba?
yeah,
Talagang ano, yung sa
yeah.
yung,
Naalala mo ba
yung
the boycott of the Moscow Olympic
yes,
and then
1980 yun.
Montreal,
Oo,
di ba? And then
1980.
1976. And then, in 1976 it was really interesting as well. Several African states did not participate.
Ay, sa Montreal,
Yeah,
oo.
in
Mm-mm.
Montreal. Why? Because these African states, 10, 20 of them, I can't remember the exact number, were protesting that the IOC did not exclude New Zealand from participating in the Olympic because New
Ah,
Zealand went to South Africa to play rugby during the
mhm,
apartheid time, di ba?
mhm,
So
mhm,
African countries were unhappy about that. They want New Zealand to be excluded. IOC said no. Oh, so okay, boycott sila, di
mhm,
ba? In
mhm.
1984, naalala mo, Los Angeles Olympic, nag-boycott
Yes,
yung USSR.
yes, oo. Hindi sila
Revenge boycott
sumali.
naman. Revenge boycott, di ba? So, 1980, US didn't go.
Mhm,
1984, USSR didn't go. So, it's all about the platform that
mhm.
Olympics is given
And,
for
and, and
these issues.
and also, Sir Alex, yung 1972 sa Munich, yun yung ano, yun yung ano, kasi may mga namatay dahil,
Yes.
di ba, yung PLO, yung mga ganon, politika din yun, because
Yeah,
of the Israeli athletes and yung merong ano
that's
doon,
right. That's a very
incident.
sad, how should I say this, a very sad episode, di ba?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of movies, in fact, about the Munich 1972 attack
Olympic,
on
oo.
the Israeli athletes. Pero
Mhm,
and then if you look at the political end of it,
mhm,
that we can ask the question din na bakit naman ginamit ng mga Palestinian that
mhm,
opportunity
mhm,
to attack and kill the Israeli athletes,
mhm,
diba? So what we can see is that because kasi makikita nila. advertising, di ba? It's a
Oo,
big
yung platform, yung
big
sinasabi niyo yung
platform,
platform.
right? It's a big platform because TV
Mhm,
was already there.
yes,
TV was already there, so the Palestinians, the Palestinian terrorists also know that if we use this,
correct,
everybody will know, di ba?
mhm,
So it's unfortunate. It's very very unfortunate. Very awful incident. But you can see how the two,
mhm,
since the advent of TV and how big TV has become,
mhm.
created this opportunity for people with more political position to have a platform to express their politics.
And now with the technology, Sir Alex, I think it will still grow more powerful and ano, 'di ba? Dahil may TV nga pero may social media naman ngayon, no? Except ito ngayon sa Tokyo, minimal kasi walang spectators. Pero yung sa Rio, 'di ba? Yung sa mga cellphone, sa mga ano, nakukuha, capture agad
Yes,
yung ano.
yes,
ah,
and definitely, definitely the fact that ginagamit din ng mga hosting nations
mm,
Olympics as a coming out party din, no?
mm,
Kumbaga, 'di ba? Biro mo, naalala mo yung 1964, the Tokyo Olympics,
mm,
that was used by Japan in a way to signal that they are back.
yes. Mhm,
They're back from the war, 'di ba? They're now a rich country. They're,
mhm,
ganun din. 1988, naalala mo yung Seoul Olympics, 'di ba?
yes. Mhm.
The Seoul Olympics, in a way, also, why did South Korea chose 1988 as a time to host?
Oh, oh,
Diba?
bakit?
Di ba,
Kasi
siguro, di ba?
number
Kasi,
8.
oh, well, part of it was,
Mhm.
well, it's a proud moment for Korea that they're now a democracy. We are now a
Oh,
showcase. Di ba? Ganun din di ba?
mhm,
We can
mhm,
show that Korea is no longer the poor country during the Korean War or after the Korean War.
mhm,
We are
mhm,
now part of the industrialized countries. We're developed, di ba? China,
mhm.
2008. Ganun din
2008.
ginamit niya, di ba? 2008, paglabas ng China, bakit naman talagang excited sila mag-host? Why are they
Mhm.
really? Because they're saying that, yeah, we can now stand amongst, the big nations in the world that we have the ability to host this.
To host, yes.
Kasi
And they
mahal,
have the and they have the, like, a long-term plan of
Yeah.
enhancing that, parang coming out party nga sinasabi
Yes,
niyo, then
yes, coming out
tuloy-tuloy na
party.
yung ano,
Yeah,
tuloy-tuloy na
talagang coming
yung
out party siya.
mm. Hmm. That's why siguro itong sa Japan, because nga 64 meron tapos ulit ngayon, they really want they really want to push through with this one, no? Although yung mga coverages, Sir Alex, 'di ba yung sa opening, yung sabi ng mga commentators, naririnig nila sa labas yung mga nagpoprotesta. Kasi siyempre may mga nagpoprotesta rin because of the pandemic. They didn't want to have more people. Ang nalaman ko pala, Sir Alex, is halimbawa si Hidilyn, no? Si Hidilyn Diaz. So,
Yep.
halimbawa, natapos na siya, nanalo na siya, she's given 48 hours to leave the country, to leave Japan. So, halimbawa, tapos na yung event mo, hindi kagaya dati, they will stay until the ending.
Yes, yes.
Ito ngayon, because of the pandemic, uwi na lahat. Kung halimbawa,
So,
kinover, uwi na. Coach, uwi na yung after your event. After 2 days, parang ganon. So, kasi
it is
nga,
a
they
very strange. It is a
Mhm.
very strange Olympics kung isipin mo. Kung
Mhm.
isipin mo kung ano mangyayari sa sa closing ceremony, 'di ba? 'Di ba nung
Oo.
araw yung mga closing ceremony yung mga masa ng mga sports
Oo.
athletes, no? 'Di ba? Pumapasok lang sila, walang hindi na divided into countries, 'di ba?
Oo,
Man, what will
oo.
that look like now? I mean, it's a really strange one. But you can see why they why the politics also came
Mhm.
into play of why Tokyo Olympics need to push for it then. Diba?
Hmm.
First of all, you've already spent the money.
Mhm.
Diba? Number two, you know, Japan since the 1990s have been, experiencing economic stagnation,
Correct. Mhm.
an aging population,
Mhm. Mhm.
all of a sudden emerging from the 1990s while Japan is still the third largest economy in the world. But in the 2020s, they're the third largest economy in the world. But in the
Mhm.
1990s, they were the second.
Mhm.
Parang na-displace sila. Parang
Mhm.
kumbaga, it used to be, remember in the 1980s, Di ba?
Hmm.
May mga libro na lumalabas na sinasabi, Japan as number one. Di ba?
Hmm.
Ezra Vogel wrote that book from Harvard. Uh, uh, uh,
Hmm.
Japan Inc. Di ba? Alam mo yung
Hmm.
mga,
Hmm.
they were touting the strength of the Japanese economy, that one day they will be overtaking the United States. Well, you know what? 30 years later, they did not only not overtake the United States, China overtook them.
Overtook them, yes.
Di ba?
And
So for this particular Olympics, the pandemic got in the way, but that this was also a second coming out party for Japan.
mhm,
In a way, I think the Japanese are also thinking that, hey, wag mo kami kalimutan, ha? Alam ko, China is the flavor of the month. Pero
mhm.
nandito pa rin kami, oh. So we definitely have to have it. So, but it did, the pandemic got in the way. It's really unfortunate.
Hmm. Kasi usually 'di ba yung mga opening ceremony, it's grandiose, talagang ano yan, bongga yan. But now it's minimalized and minimalist and everything.
Kasi
Kasi
sa
nga,
Tokyo, ang tawag natin, infection rate sa Tokyo is still over 1,000 a day.
hmm, mhm.
Di ba?
Kaya
Malaki yung ano eh. At saka yung vaccination rate sa Tokyo, mababa din eh.
hmm. Kaya hindi talaga sila I mean half of the population I guess, I don't know if it's half pero marami pa rin na nagpoprotesta dahil nga
Yep.
sa they want it to be. But as I think nangibabaw yung is yun nga yung we have to prove to the world and then we're committed to this one and so many other factors, no?
Yeah.
Uh, pero a country like the Philippines, for example, Sir Alex, hindi natin kaya siguro mag-host I mean, hypothetically, can we, the Philippines, kaya host a big
I
event
think
like,
we
Mhm.
can if we do it a Southeast Asian affair. You
Ah,
know,
okay.
if we joint do it with
Mhm.
all other countries.
Mhm.
Pero to be honest with you, if you look at the recent history of Olympic hosting,
Mhm.
countries that have hosted the Olympics. I'm not talking about the Winter Olympics kasi normally mas smaller affair yung Winter
Smaller
Olympics,
scale.
di ba?
Mhm.
Pero yung Summer
Tama.
Olympics talaga yung talagang malaki, di ba? At saka
Mhm.
maraming mga athletes,
Mhm.
maraming investment na kailangan. Mm, there are very, very few countries in the world that can actually host it. And it's
Mhm.
getting fewer and fewer,
Mhm.
right? I think yung if we're talking about developing countries hosting it,
Mhm.
um, my feeling is Brazil would be the last one.
Okay, oo. Kasi after Tokyo, it's Paris, France, di ba? And then that's 2024 supposedly. 2028 is I think going back to LA sa Los Angeles, and 2032 is Brisbane sa
Brisbane,
Australia. So this will
yeah,
be the third time sa Australia kasi nung Melbourne, Sydney,
Sydney, yep,
tapos Brisbane. But I
yeah.
think you're correct. Kasi sino pa bang bansa na kayang
I mean, how
there, yes, yes, sir.
kasi I mean, ang problema, maraming ngayong the Olympic Games,
Mhm,
yung mga sports, they just got more.
mhm,
There are more and
oo.
more sports now. And
Tama,
then
tama.
and then the other situation that you're faced with also is, okay, how many stadiums do you need?
Hmm,
Okay, what
mhm,
facility do you need? Do you have the breadth of the sports that you can afford? For example, if we hosted it in the Philippines, look at the challenges. Look at the challenges that we will have. We will have s- we would need stadiums for sports that Filipinos don't actually follow or play.
hmm,
It's easy for us to host the basketball.
hmm,
We might be okay hosting gymnastics and swimming, right? Kasi
mhm,
Southeast Asian game, di ba? Southeast
mhm.
Asian game, meron din, we can host some of this din, di ba?
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm,
uh, but handball,
mhm.
I mean, and all the
Yung
other sports that
rugby, di ba? Rugby,
yeah, I mean, you need
football.
and then when you talk about these stadiums, no, they're all in natural grass. You know,
Yes, yes.
they're
Mm,
all
mm,
no natural grass. And imagine hosting hockey, hosting baseball. You know,
mm,
many of these are sports that we don't play. So
mm.
the cost of hosting it, and how do you recoup it? How do you recoup the investment?
Oo nga,
And
tama.
may do you have in the Philippines, or do we have enough buy-in from the sponsors?
Mm.
Normally local companies yan, di ba?
Yes. Mhm, mm,
So may pera pa silang mag-invest, and can they recoup that? So
mhm,
malaking investment yun eh. Malaking investment. At saka it can be it's very difficult. I mean, private effort for
mhm.
hosting an Olympics. I think
Tsaka
governments need to do something still.
tsaka long term yan, kagaya nga 2032 alam na it's Brisbane, that's 10 years from now, parang gano'n ano. So,
So
long
you
term,
prepare.
prepare for that. And then siyempre our political system, every 6 years merong election. Paano 'pag sa kalagitnaan, alam niyo naman
Oo.
pulitika,
Oo. Oo.
it's there, that's politics na again na that we
Talagang
that we
maraming maraming lesson na nakikita din mga ibang bansa, 'di ba? Kasi
mhm,
isipin mo, ano nangyari for developing countries, they look at a country like Brazil, and how much it cost Brazil
mhm,
to host the Olympics. And then for other, how should I say, relatively wealthy countries,
mhm.
uh, pero you're not flush with cash either, I mean, your experience would be Greece, di ba? How
Yes.
expensive it was for Greece in 2004 to recoup
Mhm,
all the costs for hosting it, di ba? And oftentimes, kung wala kang private underwriters, kung wala kang mga sponsor na gumagaling sa business group,
mhm.
the business community of your country, then the government would have to promise money.
Step in
And
and yeah. Mhm,
yeah, and then going forward, then the challenge that the developing countries will have, or even any Southeast Asian country will have, is the question: so do you spend over 50 to between 50 and $100 billion? It's a reasonable
mhm,
amount of money. Let's just say
mhm,
50 billion. Do you spend $50 billion for 2 week, 3 week celebration, or do
mhm.
you put it in infrastructure?
For the country, for
Di
the
ba?
economy.
And masasabi ng noong yung in the past, people will say, "Oh, no, I mean, you put this investment, no?" Pero and then after that, then okay, you will have a nice swimming pool, you will have this, you
Mhm,
will have that, you will have that. Yun ang argument na ginamit ng Athens. Okay? In
mhm,
Athens. They said, "Oh, sure, we can update our infrastructure. Let's let government pay for a new basketball stadium, a new this, a new that." Yes, but there are so many other sports that will have stadiums that you don't need them. So, just check what's happening to the Athens baseball stadium,
mhm.
'di ba?
Wala.
I mean, it's collecting mosquitoes.
Mhm.
In fact,
Nakit
in fact, it doesn't even have to be Athens. Alam mo yung 2008, 'di ba yung China may magandang bird's nest yung sila,
yes. Oo.
'di ba? At saka yung
Mhm,
swimming pool,
mm.
maganda. It's hardly used.
Yeah, nakita ko yun sir, yun sa ano, sa isang documentary, yung mga unused na even as the latest yung sa Rio, ano,
Mm.
meron ng mga unused na tinayo tapos wala na, hindi ginagamit,
So how do you
swimming pool.
justify that? How do
Mhm,
you justify that you've spent billions to create this thing, and then when you can probably use that in a situation like the pandemic right now, 'di ba?
mhm.
Why don't we just increase it on our ICU beds per person?
Oo nga, oo.
'Di
Pwede
ba?
research for
Yeah.
whatever na for
Yeah, kasi
medical
alam mo
ano.
naman, alam naman natin yung mga pera naman hindi, it doesn't grow on trees,
Mm.
'di ba?
Eh, hindi kaya puwede Sir Alex na halimbawa, isang particular place in the world will have all of this 'no, parang permanent na siya, yung Olympic Village parang permanent na. Tapos yun na yun, yung parang let's say somewhere in the Middle East for example dahil marami silang pera 'no. So, yun yung magiging permanent Olympic village. But then people will have to fly in and bring their, di ba, yung mga athletes, yung gano'n-gano'n. Pwede kaya yun? Or there's politics there. Yung parang yung iba, ayoko pumunta dyan. Parang
Yeah,
gano'n.
I think of course that is always possible. Middle East probably won't be the best place kasi mainit. Di
Yeah,
ba?
oo.
Yung mga summer sports I mean
Mm.
right now in Tokyo it's already getting so hot, right? And humid. It's
Oo,
already
oo.
brutal conditions, no? But in reality, I think kung isipin natin, no, is there one place that we can do that? I'll have to say that one place actually is the US.
Mhm, mhm,
Kasi biruin mo, 'di ba, may mga college sports sila, 'di ba?
mhm,
And
mhm,
alam mo naman sa States, malaki yung NCAA, 'di ba?
mhm,
Kung ilalagay mo sa in the middle of the summer, sabihin natin kung ngayon or let's move it up, let's say June, July, yung June, July or May, June, July yung ano ang tawag natin dito yung Olympics, 'di ba?
mhm,
Eh yung mga yung mga pamantasan sa Amerika maraming silang sports facilities 'di ba? Most universities have competitive swimming pool, have competitive stadium, they have all
mhm.
this and that. Marami pa silang mga dorm rooms.
Oh, yes,
Yung mga
oo.
athlete village mo,
Mhm,
kayang-kaya mo na, 'di ba? Isipin mo lang kung even ito yung why Los Angeles. Just imagine Los Angeles as a city. How many universities alone are in the Los Angeles area? And you're not even counting the professional stadiums of Los Angeles Lakers, not just the university stadiums, di ba? You have UCLA.
mhm,
You have University of Southern California. You have many universities already in that one city, di ba? Or you can even conceive of the election, sorry, the Olympic. Let's say even you host it in California.
mhm.
Just imagine that, di ba? From San Francisco hanggang LA, ilang oras lang yan, di ba?
San Diego, yung mga gano'n na ano,
And San Diego. Just imagine mo lang, di ba? Sailing, you can use it. You can do this, you can
yeah,
do that.
oo.
Yeah, di ba? Ang daming mga lugar na mga gamit mo. O kung,
Mhm,
kung sa tingin mo, ayaw natin California, pumunta ka ng East Coast. Pwede din.
mhm, mhm,
Di ba? On the
mhm,
East Coast, from New York, New Jersey,
mhm,
Connecticut, because they're very close, di ba? They're close
mhm,
by. So
mhm,
kung, if you're talking about we don't have to build new things, literally,
mhm,
we can just use existing facility. There are only a handful of countries that can do that,
mhm,
right? So if you don't want to spend more money, Australia can. They definitely can. They have a lot of stadiums there as well. It's a very well-off country. The United States can. I think London to a certain point can. They've
mhm.
certainly proven that they can.
How about
Uh,
China? How about China?
China can, but China has to build things as well. Now
Okay.
that they already have the facility, they have to build the things. Kung sasabihin
Mhm,
natin na if we do not minimize the building of new things, but just use
mhm,
existing things, is existing structure, no?
mhm,
Existing infrastructure. Very limited countries can do
mhm,
that. But it's a good idea kasi, it's so expensive to
mhm.
host.
And
So expensive.
I was thinking also, Sir Alex, of the Brisbane Olympics, diba? So, if there's a possibility that, kasi, of course, New Zealand, because we're a very small country, hindi natin kaya yung ano, but kasi magkalapit lang, 4 hours distance, maybe the rowing could be in New Zealand because we're
That's
the
possible.
world-class Lake Carapiro, yung mga ganon, di ba?
Yeah,
Yung
I mean,
parang,
that's certainly conceivable. I don't know if that has been discussed, pero alam mo,
hmm.
Commonwealth Games, that can happen. That has happened, I think. There
Oh,
was one
yes. Mm,
competition wherein they have joint bid. It can
mhm,
happen, of course, of course. That is certainly possible. I mean, all the rowing is here, all the
mhm,
sailing is here, di ba? Pwede din,
mhm.
di ba?
Yeah,
Hindi
pwede naman.
yung, I mean, there's nothing to stop us, no? All the rugby is played here, pwede din. Di ba? I mean, kasi may stadium din tayo, pero
Yes. Mhm.
Pero yeah, I mean, if you're talking about us alone hosting, I mean,
Oo.
I mean, New Zealand has not even considered hosting Commonwealth Games in a long time.
Oo
Kasi
nga,
mahal eh.
no? Oo.
Di ba? Ang mahal eh.
Mahal,
Alam
oo.
natin, mahal yan eh. We can host Rugby World Cup,
Mhm.
but
O
even with Rugby World Cup, di ba the last time when we hosted the Rugby World Cup, one of the issue
2011?
is one of the
Well,
issue is also money and spectators. Kasi may
oo, tama.
maraming mga team na maliliit, eh, hindi naman silang popular team, they don't have a lot of following. So,
Mm.
I mean, remember that time wherein they play in Hamilton or they play
Oo.
in Nelson, and then, the locals adopt the other team, parang ganun ba? Just to
Para
make
lang
sure that,
magkaroon ng ano, oo.
may mga spectators sa stadium, di ba?
Mm.
The issue for New Zealand, for example, na kung if we're trying to host an Olympic, is that well, all of a sudden we have to think about our infrastructure as well.
Mm,
Kasi if
mm.
you have so many people coming in, we know that there are relatively limited flights, reaching New Zealand. You always have to stop somewhere to come to New Zealand.
Yeah,
So,
so it becomes
di
more
ba?
expensive. Oo,
Kasi hindi tayo transportation hub. Eh.
mhm, mhm,
Yeah, Brisbane
mhm.
is easier. Brisbane, you can fly straight from many places.
Oh, yes, oo. Brisbane to the Middle East, meron na yan, mga ganyan eh.
Oh,
To
Brisbane,
tsaka
Middle East, Brisbane,
straight
London, Brisbane,
London,
Tokyo.
to the US, oo. So, pwedeng
I
ano.
mean, that is not a problem for them, di ba?
Mhm,
Pero
mhm.
sa atin, problema yan.
And and as you were saying, Sir Alex, it's politics, business, talagang intertwined yan, interlinked yan, no? Because you
For
need
sure.
sponsors, you need big money to back you up
Oh
for all
my
the things.
gosh.
Yeah.
For
Mm-hmm.
sure. Ito yung, if the Super Bowl in America is such an important advertising, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the few seconds that you have in the Super Bowl, and how
Mm-hmm.
much it costs the American companies to advertise in the Super Bowl. Let's think of the Olympics. Di ba? Let's think of the Olympics. Why do you think the 2008 Beijing Olympics, despite the fact that many people are complaining about the human rights in China, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Noon,
Correct.
during that time, it's not Xinjiang. Eh. During that time, it's Tibet, di ba?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
may
Mm-hmm.
mga human right issue. Pero bakit namang excited din yung mga businesses to go in? Because they're
Mm-hmm.
thinking, hey, we had a bad global financial crisis, right?
Mm-hmm.
China is growing. Let's go into China.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's the reality.
Yeah.
Business are also looking for markets, and China
Kasi,
presents a large market. It's nice to see. It's nice to see these ang tawag natin dito yung mga advertising, di ba?
mm, mm.
Along the ano, why not? You know,
Kasi as a company or as a business, ayaw mo din maiwanan ka. You don't want to be left behind. And I mean, your competitor is there, and then
yes,
ikaw, hindi ka. So, yeah, it's, I understand there was like a $5 billion, I think, deal with one of the companies for the Tokyo Olympics, no? Yung parang, and they
you know,
were
I'm not
rewarding.
surprised. I
Mhm.
am definitely not surprised. I mean that you know businesses seeing that as a great platform for
Mhm.
advertising their products as well, diba? So,
Mhm.
I don't know, Direk, kung
Mhm.
if you watch the Euro football
Ah,
during the
mhm.
last month, right? Yeah, it
Mhm.
was very interesting in my view when I was watching the Euro games. Yung mga karatula, no, around the soccer pitch, di
Mhm.
ba? Around the
Mhm.
soccer pitch, many of them are Chinese business companies,
Oo nga,
di ba?
Alibaba, yung mga gano'n, oo,
No,
nakikita ko yan.
Hisense, all these companies,
Hmm,
and then they write Hisense, and then for us dito, I mean, that's weird. And then the next yung mga karatula na tumatakbo, di ba? Mga runner,
hmm, mhm,
it
hmm,
goes around, di ba? And then
mhm,
they're all written in Chinese. I mean,
mhm,
how does that make sense? This is a European game.
mhm,
The advertisement is in Chinese.
mhm.
So,
That's
and then the
correct.
only way you can think about it is, oh, the Chinese company knew that a lot of Chinese viewers
Mhm,
love watching football.
mhm,
So we buy advertising and sponsor these games, but
mhm,
not to sell to the European market. It's
mhm.
actually the Chinese market.
Chinese market who are viewing it back home.
Oh,
And since they are not traveling because of the ban, so manonood talaga sila. I mean,
oh.
they're
Kasi,
not staying.
does it make sense that you're playing in Paris and then around the stadium it's Chinese character? Well, the French don't read it. I mean, it doesn't make much sense. So
Mhm.
it's about money. It really is. To make it viable these days, for Olympics to make it viable, you need
Mhm.
to have good corporate backing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Correct.
And
Correct.
secondly, you need to have a government that has a buy-in,
Mhm.
right? Because they will have to underwrite some of those infrastructure costs for sure. For sure.
A- and the government, of course, will the end game is for them to be, if you're a certain ideology, so you're socialist or so if you're supporting, and then the buy-in is you're beautifying your ideology in a way, like.
Yeah, it's a coming out party.
Mm.
An
and
opportunity to sell whatever idea you're trying to sell
mhm.
or whatever
and
policy.
And as we close, Sir Alex, maybe we could take a little bit look on the Philippines, no? The Philippine politics and the Olympics. Natatawa lang ako dahil noong 2019, Heidelin was part of that or part of the group na inakusahan ng gobyerno na was trying to oust the government. Tapos biglang ngayon, todo deny lahat dahil, oh, hindi naman ano, you were misquoted. And so sa atin, no, like Heidelin is she's my kababayan. She's from Zamboanga, so I'm very very proud of her. And at the same time, I've read her story and napaka-inspiring, no. And so now everyone is syempre dahil alam, sikat eh. So everyone is coming in, giving her everything and all of these things. So again, in the Philippine context, yung politika and then election pa sa atin. So alam mo yun, because
Yeah.
Heidelin Diaz, sabi nila, is the second Diaz to get into the universe kasi si Miss Universe, si Gloria Diaz, parang gano'n. So sa Pilipinas pa lang makikita na natin yung yung how politics and the games are really kasi yung mga yung national sports committees, yung mga ganon, di ba? They're also, as you were saying, they're supposed to be private, but most of them are an ex-senator, an ex-ganito. Sila ang namumuno eh. Sila ang nag-ano.
Pero
So,
wala masyadong
mm,
pera na binibigyan sa mga athletes natin, 'di
yes,
ba?
that,
Kasi so in a way, the politics of it is again why politics and Olympics, no? Kasi all of a sudden, congratulations to Heidelin, ha?
mm,
Talagang this is incredible thing for
mm.
our country, you know. 97 years the Philippine national anthem has not been sung in the Olympics. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an incredibly proud moment, and an
Mm,
incredibly proud moment in the fact that you see a sports person fighting despite all adversity.
mm,
Look at the competitors and how well funded the other competitors are, and
correct.
how Filipino athletes have to survive
Mm,
to even have this opportunity to compete with the best in the world, diba? So, and the reason that the politics come into play is again a testament of what I said a while ago, more of an evidence of what I said a while ago. Kasi all of a sudden, Heidelin, gold medal, Philippines, naging world platform.
mm, mm.
Nasa world platform siya, di ba? So, now you're seeing everybody trying to claim credit, di ba? Everybody wants a piece of her pixie dust, so to speak,
Mhm. Pixie
di
dust,
ba?
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so but we know that Filipino athletes, particularly in these fields that are not professional,
Mhm.
wala masyadong pera yan eh.
Yeah.
Di
Hindi
ba?
sila
Kung
high
hindi lang,
perform hindi
oo,
sila
kung
high
hindi lang,
performance,
it's not
parang
boxing, it's not
oo,
basketball, di
mhm,
ba? Kung hindi talagang passion ng athlete natin, ha? Kung hindi, it's just for the love of the game, you know what I mean?
hmm,
I mean, it would be very difficult. I mean, it's the Philippines is not, we do not lack talented athletes.
Mhm.
We certainly don't. But even the most talented athlete will find it difficult if you do not have the resource and the infrastructure to support excellence. Alam
Mhm.
natin yan.
Mhm.
We
And
know that.
most of this are it's expensive, and most of this training and coaches and everything is
Yeah.
you have to do it overseas, no,
Yeah.
out of the Philippines, not because of
Yes.
the lack of it's because of the expertise na no, like Heidelin, she was training in Malaysia for nearly a year or more,
Yeah.
all throughout the lockdown. Yes, Sir Alex, kasi yung isang kababayan ko, si Dr. Felisa Rodriguez, she got caught in Kuala Lumpur kasi nga hindi siya makatawid. So,
No.
nagstay. And they found out that Heidelin was there, she was training. Kasi sabi ng isang Chinese coach niya, go to Malaysia, mas madali kang parang training, no? So she
Oh.
has been there. She hasn't been home, sabi niya. Sabi niya is it's only now kasi pauwi na siya ngayong Wednesday. Doon she gets back home to the Philippines. And it's because of the training. 'Di ba yung sa golf, 'di ba yung sa mga ibang sports. Meron pa nga tayo sa Winter Olympics, Sir Alex, 'di ba? May Philippine team pa tayo sa skating, sa
But you have to
bobsled.
pay on your own.
Yeah, they have
You
to
have to
because
find yeah, it's hard. I mean, sports is not, I mean, look, living here in New Zealand, no? When nung lumipat kami dito in 2004, in 2000, between 2005 and 2007, in fact, I was coaching a baseball team, young baseball team
ah,
here, Little League.
ah,
Oh, my son, in
really?
fact, my eldest, in fact, represented New Zealand, Little League baseball.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. So, but even with that, considering that our, New Zealand is relatively well-off country.
Mhm.
Oh, if you're not playing rugby, walang masyadong pera.
Wala,
Walang
Talaga
masyadong pera na
wala.
sumusuporta sa your develop, for to
Mhm.
develop the sport.
Yeah.
Mahirap.
You have to do a lot
Mahirap
of
yan.
fundraising. Palagay ko yung sausage
Oo.
sizzle, yung mga gano'n.
Oo, oo. And then in the Philippines, here in the sausage sizzler, may bumibili pa ng sausage mo. Pero sa
Oo.
Pilipinas, I mean,
Mm.
how can you do that?
And
You know?
it's only the big, like Heidelin and several other of the athletes are supported by the Manny Pangilinan Sports Foundation. So yun, meron silang konting tulong doon. But how
Yeah.
about the others, no?
Yeah.
Yung
In
iba
fact, as
pang
akin, if we are to do something along that line in the Philippines and to try to develop players and at least some very very competitive ones, is to make many of our how should I say this athletes almost like semi-pro. For example, isipin mo kung
Mhm.
may mga sport tayo na we want to develop. Let us say
Mhm.
we want to develop boxing, we want to develop weightlifting, we want to develop rowing. Okay, maybe what the Philippines have to think about is maybe the corporations, start saying, oh, okay, yeah, let's support this team, no? Parang kung
Mhm.
basketball natin, di ba?
Mhm.
They work in the company, but they play
Mhm.
for their company team.
Correct.
Kumbaga, ganun ba? So, and
Mhm.
if we do that, at least we can allow our sports people to make a living.
Mhm.
Otherwise,
Kasi
it's tough.
yung ibang a few years ago I interviewed kasi pumunta sila dito sa Auckland for a competition. Itong National Paralympic Swimming Team, no?
Paralympics, yeah.
Pumunta sila dito, and the coach and the players themselves, most of them coming from the provinces, sabi nila talagang pittance lang talaga yung binibigay sa
Oo.
kanila kasi nga hindi nga sila high profile sports, no? So
They're
it's
not they're not Gilas Pilipinas.
Oo, hindi yun nga na-focus tayo sa basketball masyado, no? So all the funding it goes there, and all the resources goes there too, no?
Yeah, I mean, expensive yan, ha? Expensive ang sport. But look, for a tiny investment, look at
Mhm,
how the Filipinos this last few days have felt.
mhm,
Di ba?
mhm.
I mean, Heidi made us all proud.
Yes. Mhm,
And I'm hoping that it opens the eyes that this is possible even for a small country like us.
mhm. To
That
focus, yes.
that we only need to put some investment because we are not lacking of talented and passionate athletes.
Mm.
Alam mo naman tayong mga Pinoy we're very passionate people di ba?
Oo, 'pag once
Di
na
ba?
yung loyalty natin sa
Oh my gosh, when
ubos.
we play hard. Di ba? When we play hard. That's the
Yeah,
type of people we are. So, when we work hard. When we play
we
hard.
play
So,
hard.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a lot to. We already have that passion. It
Mhm.
doesn't take us a lot. You just make us, at least make us live, while we're pursuing our passion, di ba? So I don't have to
So
do any sausage sizzle or buwan kita ng turon sa ano. sa
Sir Alex, curious lang ako, are you fond of baseball because of all your years in the States? Kaya when you came here, you were coaching.
Yeah, I was, and I got into baseball more kasi the kids were playing it,
Mhm, mhm,
right? And the kids were playing soccer as well. And in Texas, the two boys were all they're quite good baseball players. And
mhm,
in fact, my son was an all-star team in the Dallas area.
mhm,
So my eldest one, yeah, my eldest one.
mhm,
So
mhm.
he's still actually right now he plays recreationally,
Okay.
baseball,
Baseball.
and yeah, and he occasionally umpires it. But
Oh.
yeah, I still have my baseball glove.
Mhm.
Yung anak ko kung bumabalik dito, yung dalawang anak ko kung bumabalik sa bahay, say, "Hey, Dad, take your glove. Let's throw some balls in the backyard."
Yung parang, oo, yung parang sa
Oh,
simot.
yung ganun lang. Oo, oo. Kasi dun yung ano ko, I mean, that's how I fell in love with baseball because the kids were doing it.
Mhm, mhm,
The kids were
mhm,
doing it. Alam mo sa States yung kung hindi ka sa Texas, nung nasa amin kami doon,
mhm,
main sport nila, football.
mhm.
Football in the winter, around fall and winter, baseball closer to summer, and then basketball in between that. Pero in Texas, basketball is not as big as football and baseball.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Yeah, so the
Parang
boys never really played basketball. They
mhm,
played. They know how to play football, but they are
mhm.
mainly in baseball. So they play
Baseball.
soccer and baseball.
Because
So
maybe
that's
it's because of the state of Texas, 'di ba, yung the wide field and ano,
right
yung
fields. Yep,
yung
that's
just
right.
sa loob ng basketball. Mhm,
Even
mhm,
soccer, even soccer is an up and coming sport in Texas, then you know.
mhm.
So most guys still play football, but our two boys somehow like soccer, so they for their autumn sport they play soccer, and their summer sport they play baseball.
And it's good that you carried on when you came to New Zealand coaching until nag-little league sila, representing New Zealand, ha? Mhm,
Yeah, well, I didn't coach the international team. I
mhm,
coached the Canterbury team. So
mhm.
may mga it's not baseball is not very big in New Zealand. Softball mas
Yes,
malaki
oo.
dito.
Oh, mas
So
malaki
pero may
softball.
pero in Auckland, the baseball is getting bigger.
Okay.
Auckland
Mhm,
baseball is getting bigger. So in 2006, 2007, the Auckland team, several of their teams came down here and we competed. So
mhm.
I was coaching the under 12 and under team.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it was really fun. It was really fun me teaching baseball to the children and making them love the game. But it's all service, ah.
Oh, yes. Oh, dito sa New Zealand, yung mga ganun. But the parents will, it's all service. At the
It's all
beginning of the
service.
school year, the schools will say, oh, sino gusto
Yeah.
mag-volunteer? Ganyan, ganyan. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So all the parents have to, may roster kami. Oh, today you provide the drinks and the snacks
mm,
after the
pati
training.
yung paglaban ng uniform, di ba?
Oo, 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 oo. Talagang
Kilo-laundry.
talagang out of passion lang talaga.
That's
Kung
correct. Oh.
out of passion lang talaga. But yeah, I mean, it's sports is brings joy to people in a way,
Mhm,
and as you can see during this lockdown time that we have,
mhm,
people do miss sports and at least do want to see something. So sports is supposed to bring us all together. But like I said, bakit politics in Olympics?
mhm.
Well, the platform that it offered, the money that Olympic can offer, it changed everything, right? And the fact that if we really want to take politics out of Olympics, let's just never care about national anthems and parade of nations. Wala na. Tanggalin mo lahat yan. Di hindi kailangan mag-politics kasi natanggal na lahat eh.
Oo, basta yung laro lang, game.
Laro lang.
Oo, yung ano, yung...
Diba? Kung laro lang.
Yung sa parada, di ba, pabunggahan ng ano yan, yung suot, yung national costume, yung ganyan-ganyan, yung gano'n.
Imagine mo yung mga sports natin sa atin, di ba? If it's just, PBA and PBA teams or whatever teams that we're playing, may mga politics ba? Wala. Kung UAAP ka, may politics ba? Wala. It's just sports. Right? Kasi, we're within one country. So, once you deal with the nation state, politics comes in.
Kasi sabi nga nila, halimbawa, ikaw, you're doing your best kasi you're representing your country. Yung kalaban mo, ganun din. Because
of course.
He is representing. Kaya talagang ano yan.
Of course. May adversarial relationship, diba? Diba? Imagine mo yung mga story ng remember in when the amateur US team first lost their basketball game with against the Soviet Union. Oh my gosh, it's like a national mourning. Diba?
That was like really, because America always consider themselves, we are the superpower, and basketball kami din dyan, and natalo.
Yes, and if you think of it, during the Cold War years, diba? Diba may mga report na lumalabas na yung mga, the East Germans were breaking all the swimming record, but then all of them were putting
yung mga steroids,
and performance-enhancing drugs, diba? Mga PED. But why do we think that they are doing that? Because one reason that, as a political scientist, I can provide is that because they're trying to show that the communist system of the Warsaw Pact is so much more superior than the democratic Western nation alliance. You know what I mean? So
yes.
It's trying to show that we're better than you. So why do you think the United States is doing this? Why do you think China is, all of a sudden, China is superpowered in. They care so much about the gold medal. Why? Because it's about pride of nation, di ba?
Yes, that's correct.
Kung may pride of nation, ano tawag natin doon? Nationalism. Because nationalism. Yeah.
Nationalism and nationhood.
Yeah. And when you deal with nationalism, everything is emotion.
Yes, that's correct. Sir Alex, maraming salamat. Thank you very much for, as always, insightful
salamat, Direk. It was a fun
thoughts
time.
from you. Siguro, pag meron na naman isang global na topic, I will touch base with you. The last time was the elections, di ba?
Yes.
You gave a very good, yung ang daming feedback noon about yung nahimay na gusto yung US elections. So, maraming salamat muli.
Ay, walang anuman, Direk. Salamat sa imbitado, at saka thank you for all the listeners din. It's really a fun time to always have an opportunity to speak with Direk.
Salamat po, Sir Alex, and all the best, and take care po dyan sa Christchurch.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless po. Mga kaibigan, si Dr. Alex Tan ng University of Canterbury ang ating nakapanayam dito po sa ating netkapihan. We'll talk about politics and Olympics. Maraming salamat po at pinayagan niyo kami muli pumasok sa inyong mga tahanan, sa inyong mga puso sa gabing ito. Maraming salamat. Thank you. Take care. And God bless.